this is John Colo at DiscountJuicers.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you. What we're going to do is make my lunch. So for my lunch, what I like to do is include a lot of fresh fruits and fresh vegetables in my diet. So for lunch, sometimes I'll eat some fruit, maybe sometimes I'll have a salad, sometimes I'll have a blended smoothie, and sometimes I'll have a fresh juice. So many of you guys know that, tomatoes, which is the primary ingredient we're going to use today, is used to make a V8 vegetable juice. The V8 vegetable juice has a whole bunch of different vegetables in it, including the tomatoes, which are technically just fruits because they contain the seeds inside. Any vegetable or fruit that contains seeds is technically a fruit, not a vegetable. So anyways, what we're going to do today, instead of making a tomato vegetable-based juice, we're going to make a fruit-based juice with some tomatoes. So I have some organic cherry tomatoes, a whole pitcher full, matter of fact. And then we also have some oranges. So we're going to juice the oranges with tomatoes. So this is going to be an orange tomato juice. Now I want to encourage you guys actually to get your vitamins from the foods you eat. When I was a kid, my dad used to buy us these little supplements, vitamin C tablets, ascorbic acid vitamin C with hesperidin and rutin, which are bioflavonoids. And we would eat those as candy, although they tasted very they make your face they were kind of bitter. But we did that because our dad said, oh yeah, vitamin C is good, because he saw some of the research that Linus Pauling did about vitamin C and how it can help you, prevent you from getting sick and whatnot. So we used to take it by the mouthful as a kid, and we'd literally eat that stuff as candy. So me and my brother grew up in a pretty healthy household, or so we thought anyways. But little did we know, when we're eating the ascorbic acid vitamin C, we're getting an isolated nutrient that was probably made in a factory. In my opinion, we should be getting our nutrition from the foods we eat, but the problem is most Americans and most people in general are not eating enough of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet, which are the fresh fruits, the fresh vegetables, and especially the leafy greens. So today we're going to focus on the fruits. The fruits also taste a lot better, and this is very important if you're just new getting into eating a healthier diet, because you might not like straight green juice, as many of you guys have found out. So basically, by diluting it with some fruits, it could be actually much more tolerable. Another thing you could do is juice all this stuff and then add in some romaine lettuce leaves, which would be a nice and mild addition to this juice. For the most part, I don't like to add fruits with my vegetable juices. So if I am juicing vegetables, then I might add only apples and pears to make it sweet, maybe a lemon to give it some tang. But other than that, I don't like to mix a whole lot of sweet fruits with it. If I'm doing oranges and tomatoes, I might add romaine because it's kind of watery and juicy, and it's not going to really mess up my juice too much. But in general, I like to keep my juices really simple. This juice recipe is just 2 ingredients. So that's another thing I want to encourage you guys to do, is to, when juicing, try to make your juice as simple as possible. And I know it might be hard for you guys because people always want to throw in everything but the kitchen sink. But simplest is the best. Things that are simpler are going to digest better, and they're going to just taste a lot better. For hints and tips on recipes for making juices, please check my other videos on YouTube. I have a really good video that's entitled Free Juice Recipes for Life, which is where I give my basics on how to create a delicious recipe in your juicer every single day based on whatever you have in the kitchen, using some common ingredients. In any case, what we're going to do today is we're going to use the FruitStar Juicer by Tribest. The FruitStar Juicer is a vertical single auger style juicer, and yes, this does look like some of the other different ones on the market. But the FruitStar Juicer sold by Tribest is specifically recommended for juicing fruits. So if you buy one, I don't want to get an email that says, hey John, I bought the FruitStar and I'm juicing vegetables and it's not working so well. Well, guess what? It's called the FruitStar, and you're supposed to juice fruits in it. It will handle some small amounts of vegetables like carrots, although it does tend to make a pulpier carrot juice than other juicers. If you do want to juice vegetables, including carrots and other leafy greens, the Tribest company has the GreenStar Juicer, the GreenStar Elite Juicer, which is actually designed to do the greens and the vegetables excessively well. This one does really well at the fruits, and we're juicing fruits today, so that's why I'm using it. Without further ado, I guess let's get into juicing. The first thing I want to let you guys know about is that, while the juicers, many of them may come with little plastic containers, I like to use glass catch containers for my juices. So instead of their catch container here, I'm going to use a nice 8-cup Anchor Hawking, basically measuring cup, glass measuring cup or measuring bowl. These guys are available at your local big box store, like Walmart or Target, like that. I like these guys a lot. They hold a nice large quantity in their glass, and they pour fairly well once you got the hang of it. So we're going to put that underneath there because this also has a lot larger capacity too, and I'm juicing a lot. So before we start juicing, let's talk about proper produce selection and proper produce preparation. When selecting tomatoes to juice, this is the most critical thing. You want to get nice, hard, and firm tomatoes. If your tomatoes are getting soft and old and mushy, they're not going to juice well. Juicers really need a nice, hard, fibrous texture to juice. If you got soft and old tomatoes that are not so hard, it'd be far better to blend them than to juice them. In addition, many juicers may not handle soft things such as the tomatoes too well, and that's another reason why I chose the FruitStar Juicer today, because this style juicer tend to juices fruits very well. You know, it's much like you girls out there have many different pairs of shoes, one for each outfit. I have just about one juicer for every different produce item I'm going to juice. Well, not quite, but I have a selection of different juicers that I select based on what I'm going to be juicing that day. Now, many of you guys may not have the luxury of having many different kinds of juicers, but you want to remember to pick the juicer that's going to best juice what you want to juice most if you're only getting one juicer. So I have over 300 videos on YouTube that show and compare all the different juicer varieties to let you guys know which one may be the best one for you. So I encourage you guys to watch a lot of my videos before making this important purchase decision. And I want you guys to get the juicer the first time and get the one that's best going to meet your needs, so you'll be yet another satisfied customer of Discount Juicers. In any case, without further ado, let's get juicing. So we're going to juice the tomatoes. Once again, get the hard and firm tomatoes. I like the cherry tomatoes because you don't have to cut them up. You just drop them in and they juice really easily. On the oranges, same exact thing. You want to get nice, hard, firm fruit. You don't want soft ones. Soft ones aren't going to juice as well. Eat those soft ones. If they're nice, hard, and firm, they're going to juice really well. And while the juicer can take and juice up the orange coloring of the rind, you know, the juicer could handle it. The problem is we can't. While we could drink it, it's going to taste really bitter and nasty. And also you may get gas, bloating, and belching. So if you don't want that, it's best advised to actually peel the oranges like you'd peel it to eat it. But even better than that would be to actually peel it with a knife, or actually peel it with a carrot peeler just to peel off the orange coloring. So I'll show you guys how to do that. So what I'm doing now is actually I'm just cutting off the orange coloring of the orange. And the orange coloring has some actually indigestible chemicals or oils. Actually, some of these oils are called D-limonene, and actually they make a really nice natural pest product actually called Orange Guard. And this Orange Guard product actually kills ants on contact. So those are the kind of chemicals in the peel that we do not want to be eating, and that's why I am cutting it off. And that's a natural product you can use if you have ants in your pants or ants in your house. It's safe to use around foods and, you know, dogs and pets and whatnot. So we're going to cut all the orange coloring off where those chemicals are that are indigestible for us and not so good for us to eat. But the part that we're keeping is actually the white pithy part. I know many of you guys have heard that, you know, in an apple, the most nutrition's in the skin. Well, it's actually right below the skin. The same thing with an orange. In the orange here, you know, all the nutrients are not just in the orange in the middle. It's actually the white pith part. The white pithy part has the bioflavonoids in it, like the hesperidin and rutin. That's actually really powerful antioxidants for us. In addition, the tomatoes, they contain the lycopenes. So this is going to be an antioxidant-rich fruit juice that I'm going to get to enjoy in just a little bit. So the one thing I want to remind you guys about is that if you are buying orange juice in the store, you know, from a carton or even from concentrate, what they're normally doing is they're just juicing the orange, the inside flesh. So you're getting literally what I call orange water, and that's pressing out the juice of the inside only. They're not giving you the nutrition that contains within the pith, which is the most nutrition. So the only way you're going to get the nutrition from the pith is if actually you own your own juicer. Skin it yourself and start juicing them yourself. So I always recommend making your own fresh juices for the highest nutrition in any food on earth. So now that we got this peeled, we're going to simply go ahead and turn the juicer on. And when juicing in the FruitStar or most other juicers, I always encourage you guys to rotate the produce you're putting in the machine. So we're going to put in a handful of tomatoes, a piece of orange, a handful of tomatoes, a piece of orange. Now, why do you want to do this? Well, what this does, it mixes up the textures going into the machine. Sometimes if you're using a centrifugal ejection juicer, you know, the tomatoes may clog the screen up, but if you put a carrot in, that'll kind of clean the screen. Same thing with the FruitStar juicer. Different textures help push things through the juicer and get it working more effectively. So actually you may get higher yields by doing the rotational techniques that I'll show in just a minute. So without further ado, let's go ahead and turn this juicer on. This machine runs at a low 80 RPMs, revolutions per minute. Some of the fast juicers like the Breville spin at 10,000 RPMs, which is significantly faster and much louder. So the lower the RPM of the juicer, the more higher the nutrient quality in the juice because there's less oxidation going on. So let's go ahead and cut this orange up into fours here. And we're going to go ahead and take a handful of the tomatoes, drop those right in the machine like that, and then we're going to put a segment of orange in there. And now we're going to put a handful of tomatoes. All we got to do is keep rotating this mixture here. And as you can see, the pulp's coming out of the machine. We got a nice red, orange pulp coming out. And on the other side, we got the delicious tomato orange juice. Now, the one thing I want to tell you guys about, if you are juicing straight tomatoes, which the juicer will actually remove the seeds and the skin, because, you know, we're not really designed to digest the cellulose in the skin of the tomato. So we'll take out the seeds and the fibers, so you'll get more nutrition out of the tomato than just eating it raw. I know many of you guys may have heard that it's better to cook tomatoes than eat them raw because you're going to get more nutrition, because when they cook it, you get more lycopene and nutrients. But the reason for that is because when you cook things, it breaks open the cell walls and all those nutrients are now exposed so that you can get better digestion of them. That being said, when you cook the foods, the nutrition goes down because the heating process, you know, lowers the nutrition overall. By juicing your tomatoes, you're going to break open the cell walls, but also maintain the highest level of nutrition because we're not adding the heat. And once again, the FruitStar juicer is what's called a cold press juicer. No heat is involved in extracting these fresh fruit and vegetable juices that you could make at home. Alright, so we're continuing to juice here. It's working really well. We can see the pulp coming out and the juice coming out. Another thing I want to tell you guys about is actually, if you do juice straight tomatoes, you know, you may be upset because straight tomato juice is not watery and crystal clear. It's actually more of a, you know, puree, or what you might want to call nectar, like those guava nectars you might have had as a kid. The tomatoes are kind of nectary because, you know, things that aren't hard and firm don't tend to juice well. So by adding in the orange to the tomatoes that we're juicing today, we're going to get a better consistency, or a more watery consistency on the juice. So I like that a lot. As you can see, this is working very well. The pulp that's coming out of this machine is actually fairly dry. You know, every different juicer can best juice certain produce items. So for example, the FruitStar, of course, best at juicing fruit. If you juice these fruits in, say, a Breville or a high-speed juicer, the pulp is going to be fairly wet and you're not going to get all the yield. In this case, the FruitStar is going to make actually nice, high yield on this exact combination. On the same token, if you try to put carrots through the FruitStar and carrots through a centrifugal ejection juicer, the carrots are actually going to yield more on the centrifugal ejection juicer and not the FruitStar, because the high-speed juicers are actually more efficient at extracting nutrition out of the hard vegetables and the harder fruits like firm apples. If you put soft apples through the FruitStar, you're going to get an apple sauce instead of an apple juice, and that's why it's particularly important to pay attention to the produce quality and the quality of the produce you're getting. So you want to select fresh produce whenever possible. As you can see here, we're juicing these guys up, one pitcher of each, and it's going really fast and easy in the FruitStar. Despite the 80 RPMs, which makes it a slow juicer, it does work fairly fast. As fast as you can feed the stuff in is as fast as it comes out. Now I want to caution you, when feeding produce into the FruitStar juicer, don't just sit there and cram, or don't take this whole jug and pour it all in at once, you know. I'm kind of going at a nice and slow, moderate pace. I'm talking to you guys. I'm grabbing one handful of this, one handful of that, and dumping it in so that the FruitStar could actually work on it. Because you don't want to overload the machine, whether you're feeding carrots or fruits. In any juicer, you want to do a little bit at a time and give the machine some time to work and do its job. Alright, so we're almost done juicing. This is the last orange we have to cut up into some pieces. And as you can see, we probably have, man, like almost 5 cups of fruit juice right there. Tomatoes and orange. Man, I can't wait to taste this combination. I've never had it before. So one of the ways I make up the juice recipes that I'm making up on a daily basis is it's not dependent on a juice recipe or I found this recipe online, I'm going to make it. It's about what I have in my kitchen available for me to juice today. You know, if I have a lot of tomatoes, like today I have a lot of tomatoes and a lot of oranges, I'm going to use those in my vegetable juices because I got to use them up. So I always encourage you guys to experiment. But once again, keep it really simple. Try to juice just like one thing or 2 things and not mix a whole lot of things. You know, everything but the kitchen sink juice. Those guys could taste really terrible. Alright, that's the last handful of tomatoes. And we got 2 more oranges to put in. There's 1, here's 2, and boom, we're done. And man, we got about 6 cups of fresh orange tomato juice. I can't wait to drink this. But before I turn this machine off, it's very important after you feed the last bit of produce into the machine, give it maybe another minute to run and let the machine work so that you'll get all the last bits of deliciousness out of the fruits you're juicing. I think that's pretty much good. The outlet ejection port has pretty much stopped feeding the pulp out and the juice has pretty much stopped coming out as well. We're going to go ahead and take this container here and there's my delicious, rich orange tomato juice. And I'm going to try it for you guys. Wow, it kind of tastes like fruit punchy to me. The orange is nice and sweet, but the white pith actually doesn't make it quite as sweet, so it's a little bit tempered down. Plus the tomato adds just a little hint of that tomato flavor, but you really get the sweetness of the orange coming out. This is actually a delicious juice, and to make it better, instead of drinking it straight, I might even just blend it with some spring mix and then drink it up as my green smoothie for lunch. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode learning how to make an orange tomato juice in the FruitStar Juicer. Once again, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.